All right, we can come to order on the 7 p.m. work session meeting of the Mayor and Council. We've already had our silent prayer and salute to the flag. We'll begin this meeting with a roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Here.
Councilman Ford.
Here.
Councilman Corco.
Here.
Councilman Mignone.
Here.
Councilman Bartoloni.
Here.
Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
And Mayor Mascarotola.
Here. Let me make the public notice statement again. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by sending notices on December 23rd to the Bergen Record and the Ridgewood News, by positioning it on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall, and by filing a notice of same with the municipal clerk. This is an open meeting to discuss any matters affecting the interest of the public. There are 3 exits in the court, in the council chambers, 1 to the back and 2 to the front. We are recording the minutes by videotape and by video. So if you would like to be seen and heard, you can come up to the table, which I think we're going to pull forward a little bit so that it was in the camera more.
I did.
Okay, it's been done. All right, very good. Borough Administrator topics. There are 2 items on the agenda. The first item is YMT Engineering Consultants to present their report on the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system for the Borough Hall. We have the engineer from YMP here today, Mr. Patel. Mr. Patel, if you want to come forward and tell us what your preliminary report has uncovered.
I have 2 copies, if you guys want.
Sure.
I'll take a copy. Thank you.
Guys have enough?
Yeah, we're sure.
Read on.
I'll go through the report literally page by page, but in a summary format, so I won't take too much time, but I'll try and explain to you, for layman terms.
Thank you.
Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the objective of this report is to accomplish HVAC upgrade, which is for most cost-effective and energy efficient, achieve consistent level of comfort levels, new installation shall be reliable and easy to maintain, obtain maximum energy incentives available from New Jersey Clean Energy and the Smart Start program, and also construction in this particular occupancy will occur during the occupancy, and that has to be taken into account during the design phase of the project. The existing system, as you know, it consists of what we call the 2-pipe system. In other words, 2 pipes are running and conveying water, whether it's heating or chill water. Heating during the winter, and chill water during summer. So there's a chiller outside which chills the water, and there's a heat boiler in the basement which is gas fired. They provide heating water during the winter time, and they convey the water via pumps to various fan coils in the building. And the fan coils are nothing but coil inside and a fan. And they have their own thermostat which operates on and off based on the room conditions. It's a 2-pipe system. In other words, it's a changeover system. Changeover system means during the season somebody has to decide when should we change from cooling to heating, and that has obviously drawbacks. For example, in April, May, you may need, for example, today you need cooling and you don't need heating, where last week you needed cooling and not heating, and so on. So somebody has to decide that, and it's very difficult to quickly change from one to other. There's a time factor required to go between the boilers and the chillers, and these are inherent problems or drawbacks or disadvantages of two pipe systems. Also, of course, once you have started on whichever system you want, based on the sun and the orientation of the building, some area may be overheating, some may be overcooling. And of course, in this particular installation, the building, the installation is almost done in 1976, 78, about literally 1980, and therefore there has obviously, it's reaching to its age, the efficiencies are a problem, boilers are old, chillers are relatively new, but they still produce chill water, and they use the same pump system and the same piping system. The inherent problem with the problem with has been experienced here, and that has been quite a major problem. And the pipings are very old piping. One time probably designed for heating only, and at some point decided to use them for chill water as well. And when you use chill water into a heating pipe, there are always condensation problem occurs, because the chill water creates condensation, and also the pipe can over the time, if there is no maintenance on the water treatment, the joint can start leaking, and it can leak and it can sweat, and that has been the issue, I believe, here, and that can create other issues, mold and leaks and stain in the ceilings and walls, and those are the major issues. In summary, this system is really has reached its life, and it should be replaced with a new system. So going back into now what kind of system we should go with. Now, just before I discuss my options, which I considered 4 options, and 3 of them I detailed consideration. 1 I did not do too much detail, because I can obviously see that doesn't fall in the category, but I know there is always interest in that particular option. I'll talk about that in a minute. However, I just want to briefly describe the inherent conditions in this building. As you can see, there are no hung ceiling as such. Normally you require ductwork, and ductwork takes space, also takes, it's an expensive proposition to have a ductwork system. So therefore the original design was done with fan coils, and the fan coil also introduced outside air. Each fan coil has a outside air louver. If you were to go outside the building, you will see a little grill, and that brings outside air. Whether they are functioning properly over the years, no one can exactly see or make out, but you have to really service them over the years, and that could be a problem. So now there are other systems which I'm not even considering that we go with the ductwork system in a building like that. We have to really go with what we have and how we can achieve in the best manner to achieve the existing system upgraded with the most energy efficient and modern system. So I just want to first take consideration. Suppose we were to just replace the existing system, which is 2-pipe system, with a new system. Just say, okay, replace all the new equipment, new pipes, new chiller and new boiler. What are the cost impact of that? So which I looked at that, and obviously I'm not recommending that before I go any further on that, because we already have experienced a problem with that. And you will see in further analysis that the cost of the 2-pipe system is not that favorable in comparison to other systems which I'll be describing. So the 2-pipe system really replacing existing fan coil units with new fan coils, replacing existing boiler with new boilers, replacing existing chiller with new chillers, pumps, pipes, all work has to be done. So that was option 1. Option 2 is a geothermal. When we did the first RFP came about, a lot of engineers came to get the job. At that time, there was an indication given to us that what about geothermal? Now, geothermal is good system, but there are a lot of misconceptions people have about them. In understanding them, geothermal gets very involved. This is a very small, relatively speaking, building. We are talking only 25 tons of refrigeration, which is not a large tonnage of the building in terms of cooling. As you know, a normal house would be 3 to 4 tons, and this is about 20 tons right now we have. So to put a geothermal, you need to have actually pipes bringing water or rather exchanging water between the ground and bringing that into our system, and then replacing of all the other equipment like fan coil. They will become literally a package units, which will be AC units. Literally, it will have compressors in them, in each of them. So literally what we're doing, we are bringing water and then distributing to the different units. Instead of fan coil, there will be a package heat pump unit, and the heat pump unit has a compressor, and the compressor needs water to do the exchange of the bringing the cooling, and that needs other issues. Compressor needs to be, they are noisy, they will be in the space, they need servicing, they need more electrical power, and the geothermal requires a deep drilling or to do horizontal pipe in the ground. You need to have a lot of space. If you have a lot of acreage, you could do that, or you got to go down in the ground, even 200 to 300 feet down boring. And I think that's a no proposition from the cost point of view and also maintenance point of view, and for a job like that. So I just consider it, but not recommending it to do any further analysis in my report. So the next choice is to go on the same theme of 2-pipe system, which we have right now, put 4-pipe system. In other words, put heating and cooling pipes together, and you can have chill water coming in and heating coming in same time. So if you have an area where you need heating, the pipe will provide heating water, and if you need chill water or cooling, then it will provide chill water. So it's a 4-pipe system, pretty popular, but expensive, obviously, because you're duplicating the pipes, literally. And then all the equipment, as we had done in 2-pipe system, we need to do it again anyway. So the 4-pipe system is pretty expensive. So I'm giving you the comparison of those. Actually, I did a cost estimate of each system for this particular project, and I have put them a budget cost construction on that, option 1, option 2, option 3, 4-pipe system. And then there's option 4, now I'm jumping to option 4, which is called variable refrigerant flow piping system. It sounds a little bit too wordy, but what it means that instead of using water as a medium to heat and cool, you use refrigerant as your medium to heat and cool. And the refrigerant is very flexible media. It can provide you cooling and heating. Everybody must have heard about heat pumps. It literally is heat pumps. However, the heat pump until last 5-10 years ago were limited because of the weather conditions. It was great in Florida until you do not need temperature outside rising over below 45, then you may not be able to use them. However, there has been leaps and bounds of technology change in the last 10 years, and it's called VRF system, which uses the refrigerant as your media, but the compressors are of unique design, which can give you heating and cooling unlike you used to do it before. In other words, boilers are gone. You do not need boilers anymore. The same unit which is sitting outside, which we call it now chiller, would be also providing heating and also providing cooling in the winter time. And you do not need separate boiler. You do not need heating hot water, you do not need chill water, you do not need pumps. You just have refrigerant line which are also relatively smaller running. And they literally would be replacing the existing fan coil unit into a refrigerant type of fan coil units. And that's called VRF system. One more thing about VRF system, why they are so great and why they have so advanced in it. It has a technology which allows, if you know the compressor or any AC unit runs compressor on and off. When thermostat is satisfied, compressor goes off and compressor comes on. Here the compressor is not going on and off. Compressor running all the time, but the speed is reduced. And that is an incredible technology advancement has happened. And that's called inverter technology. And that allows the refrigerant flow to be varying into each system and then allow you precise amount of heating or cooling as needed. So it's very energy efficient. And there are many manufacturers now coming up with this system. It originally started with Mitsubishi, which in fact you can see some of the existing system you have, like the supplemental system in this building, where you needed cooling for computer rooms and other rooms, or where you had problems with the area where it didn't have sufficient heating or cooling. You have put down Mitsubishi system, but that's just the cooling only, and these are old technology. The new technology are made by similar manufacturers, Mitsubishi, Daikin, Samsung, LG, and many manufacturers are coming in with this technology. And it is very cost effective, and overall, if you want to know the cost of the installation, is very similar to two-pipe system, slightly more than two-pipe system. However, in energy, you would be saving almost 25 to 24% over the annual energy cost in HVAC running cost. And of course, the maintenance part has also been reduced because you don't have any more boilers to worry about, you don't have a special changeover system to worry about, you don't have to worry about pumps and so on. So if you look at my report, I have done the analysis based on these three systems. I did the detailed cost analysis, and I have come up with the cost as the VRF system, which is option 4, to be the most cost effective from the first cost point, the initial cost, at $252,000. And also, if you look at there's a table which I give you a lot of advantages and disadvantages of all systems, which basically I just described to you, but I have detailed them in there. And then I also, at the end of I took a liberty of Mitsubishi Electric to show they have done comparison of various systems, which is authenticated by Mitsubishi worldwide and in the United States. And there are energy cost savings outlined in different cities in U.S. And you can see that it is one of the most cost energy saving system. And if you know anything about now green building design, a lot of people are opting out with this VRF system to get additional credits which you need to gain in green design with VRF system. Having said that, I think I probably said all this before in a verbal way. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.
I had a question on page 5. I think option 4 sounds like it's the best. It has, no pipes freezing and the water treatment.
Right.
But on option 3 here, on the first column, he says, utilize existing boiler plant. And in the description it says new heating boiler plant. And then advantage new boiler plant. So do you use the old one or do you get a new one?
Not new one. Where do you see? Sorry.
Page 5.
On page 5.
First, second, and third column.
On option 3.
Right.
Okay, that's an error. But on the right-hand column description, it does say new heating boiler.
Right, but the first one says utilize.
Yeah, that should be not a utilized existing boiler. It should be new boiler. But the description does say that new boiler and the pump.
Seems option 4 is the best way to go.
Yes, VRF system. And it has also a lot of flexibility. You can add and delete where you want.
Johnny?
What would you estimate the maintenance cost, the yearly maintenance cost on each of these options would be?
On the, you mean in terms of dollars, or in terms of sort of like a percentage to say which is most expensive?
No, what would it cost to maintain each of these units on a yearly basis, would you say? Is there a way to estimate that?
Yes, it's a little tough to estimate, but I could give you that, yes.
I
I
think
can't
I'd want
just-
to see that, because if one option costs us, a ton more than the other to maintain, that's
Right,
important.
yeah.
Al?
The VRF has the least maintenance because there's no boilers, and the other have chiller and boilers, so obviously the boiler part and the pumped part is not there anymore.
I'd just like to see a dollar amount.
Okay.
Al?
No, you answered my question.
Oh, Ed?
Couple questions, sir. You said with this, the VRF system, the chiller would be, there'd only be one unit, it would be outside?
It could be, right, it's not one unit, but there will be more.
How big are the units footprint-wise?
Oh, they're relatively small, they're 4 foot by 39 inch, 36 inch deep and 5 foot high.
And how many would
We
we?
have picture of them, yeah. Each one is about 12 tons, so for our job, 3 units. Yeah, you can see on the last page there's a picture.
Is this a system that's been typically being installed in these kind of buildings for new construction? Or
This system is installed in almost any type of building nowadays. Whether you are doing a little clinic in a hospital, or you're doing a school, or doing office building, or school, everywhere. Everybody's going for this kind of setup.
do you need to make up refrigerant and add it and store it on site, or is that something you do
No,
periodically?
no, it's a 410 refrigerant, which is very normal refrigerant used for most other chillers, so you don't have to keep anything in your unit.
Just two other quick questions here. One, do you know if, and I don't know whether the state of New Jersey has reauthorized the direct install program that they've been, I don't know if you're familiar with it?
Yeah, I do, I am.
Do you know if they've reinstalled, and whether the size of the system, we might be able to apply for that and get that 60/40 match?
Not to my knowledge, no. I am a partner with New Jersey Clean Energy Program. I am one of the participants or engineer registered with them, but not this will not be part of it.
Because I think, well, if we're replacing the existing, say, air conditioning units, that might have qualified, or would have qualified as of last year.
Yeah, they changed a little bit this year now. The program has been cut short quite a bit.
And then the last question I have is, you were comparing the VRF with the 4-pipe system,
Right.
but suppose we did a complete just replacement in kind, which was your option 1,
Yeah.
right? The cost is about 10% different?
Correct.
Would it make sense for us to bid both? Or are you saying that the second system is so much inherently better, it doesn't make sense to
It
even
doesn't make
consider
sense
that?
because you already have inherent problem of, in this particular building, for example, you will have sun shining on this face, you will have a lot of heating, cooling requirement, where the other side you will be looking for not so much cooling, and they're going to be having problems because you have to change over the system. So in what time you will be changing over? Will you be changing over like last week when we had 80 degrees for a whole week, and then suddenly we dropped this week? You will be changing over, the maintenance guy will be running around trying to please everybody which way to go. And I think if you are now spending all that money, why you would do that?
Did you look at whether we need other retrofits, say the windows or anything that's causing some of our problems?
I have not looked at that. Wasn't part of my kind of jurisdiction in this particular study.
Paul?
Just looking at the VRF system,
Right.
I mean, it seems like it's the poor man's view of the geothermal. I mean, it's, but it's probably best fit for the area. I just wanted to ask, since we have John Lynch here, John, what is your opinion? Have you looked at these yet?
Well, just listening here, that was a lot of information to digest. I do agree with the analysis. Having said that, like I said, it's the first time we've met. I did not even have a copy of that report, which you guys do all. I would like to have a copy of that report, have time.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Since you're going to be doing the maintenance on and looking after it, I just want to know if we can have John take a look at this after we're done to see it, because he's going to have to service this thing on the, as we go forward. And, you can just present the same
Yeah, I don't
issue.
even have a copy of the report, so I'm hearing the first time you're...
All right, I thought you were privy to it.
Mr. Patel, I was curious, the heat pump system, you're right, it doesn't do a very good job in Florida. And I can understand that there's been leaps and bounds in the technology, but I'm wondering, what's the range for the system? At what point, either outside temperature reading 90, 100, or what's the low range where the system begins to fail?
Right. I think it's not a high temperature, which is an issue. Cooling can be done at any temperature, like any chiller. It can be 100 degrees, and it's fine. But it's a heating season before the limitation. Now it can go up to -5 degrees Fahrenheit. You can still provide heating at -5.
So at -5, it can still maintain 68 degrees in the building?
Sure. Yeah.
And up to, say, 100 degrees, it can still maintain 72?
Oh yeah, that's up to our design to, if my cooling is good for any design for cooling system. Whether I put 20 tons right now, you only have about 20 tons on this job at this point in time. And then you have to supplement it with Mitsubishi other units which you have right now for certain areas, which I believe are working fine except one. So I would still skip them. But I would, if I were to design this again in detail, I would probably, and again the advantage here again, rather than one chiller, 20-ton chiller with probably two compressors in it sometimes, one compressor goes in another circuit. Whereas here it will be 4 or 3 units. So one unit goes, you still have almost 60% of the building still working in that respect.
Thank you, sir.
How does the refrigerant in the wintertime, how does the refrigerant produce heat?
That's the technology I was trying to explain to you. It's an inverter technology, which is how the compressor running at it's called inverter technology, and it reverses the cycle, and it's involved to explain in different terms, but it does produce heat. It's hard to believe for most people to say how is it possible, because it didn't do it before, but it is now doing it. And even as late as 5-7 years ago, it could not do it, but now they have hundreds and hundreds of installations throughout the United States, and it can go up to -5 degrees Fahrenheit. I personally have designed jobs, even in apartment building in New York City, 7-story building, we put the same system. I designed a couple of other office building, another building where dormitory type building, I put that. And there are a lot of office building, I know engineers are always opting out because it gives such a flexibility from engineering point of view that it avoids duct work, it avoids all the other area goes. I know right now it's being designed a school in Newark which is fully on this system. And then of course school requires a lot of outside air also because our students in it. So you can supplement outside air also with the similar system they have.
What are the piping requirements for this type of system?
Piping requirements are similar it's smaller than the two-pipe system. They normally come out two pipes from a unit into a building, and then it'll fan out into smaller pipes. So if I have 3 units like those, I can make up to 24, maybe even 30 zones out of that. So I can take, it's literally like a manifold system. Out of one, I can go 6, 7 different fan coils, different zones.
What I'm trying to find out is, if this new system were installed, would we have to tear out all of the old pipes? Could we leave them in the enclosed walls?
Well, yeah, that's a question you asked earlier when I was visiting. We need to run pipes. For example, here pipes are running in the baseboard enclosure here. We need to use that again. Otherwise, how would we run the pipes? So that's easy to do. If there are vertical lines, and I know some vertical chains you have or shaft, they were already repaired, or you had to take them out because of the mold, then I would reuse them. I would take the existing pipes out and put them. If there are pipes which are not worth touching, if we find them, then we can make other vertical risers and find different location space for it.
Okay. Johnny?
On option 4, on the description of the costs, you have under new work, I'm assuming that's labor, refrigerant lines, 1,600 units, or number of items. And then under the next section, which again I'm assuming is the hardware itself, you got refrigerant lines, 600 units.
Oh yes, it's a size of the pipe, it's a length of the pipes, I estimated, based on the once you have a large unit, you need bigger pipes coming into the building and then the smaller pipes coming in. So those are the linear lengths of the pipes.
So 600 linear lengths?
Yes.
And what's the 1,600 on the
That's also
refrigerant?
linear feet, because then I will have, say, 30 fan coil units. Each fan coil unit needs 2 lines running through it.
All right, so is the refrigerant lines under new work the labor?
It's everything, labor and the material.
So then what's the next refrigerant lines?
I separate the 2 refrigerant lines because they're larger size. But you look at the dollar value.
Okay, so there's 2 different lines going in. They're both, each one is labor and material?
Yes.
Okay.
Only reason for separating is that the smaller lines has a slightly different value of the dollar value versus the larger size.
Okay, got it.
Kathleen?
Just one more thing, on page 5 again, 6, on option 4. One of the disadvantages of number 4 was dedicated outside air unit and ductwork are required. Is that something we require as well?
No, because it is in a larger space, you probably would prefer to have it. For example, if I had a luxury to do this particular room, I would put another separate unit for it, but I don't have any room for a closet or space to do it. Maybe you can go in the attic and bring some outside air, but then again, ductwork has to come and do it. It's a statement I just put it in case we have an issue where I need to put it. When you do detail design, then there are possible ways to do it. But as I explained to you, most of the building here has outside air grill, which provides outside air. And there are limitations to that, of course. And in a smaller occupancy load, they are fine. But if you have a larger occupancy, like as I was explaining to you, school, you need to have that kind of dedicated system involved.
All right, anybody else? All right, thank you, Mr. Patel.
Thank you.
Just one quick question there.
Okay.
Mr. Patel?
Yeah.
On your budget estimate, you didn't include an item for, say, construction oversight or inspections. That would be something you would recommend that we would do for installation. Would you administer the contract and oversee the installation?
Normally, when you bid the job out to design consultants, they put design and construction administration in it. So I would say if I'm designing the job and I'm doing the construction administration, so it will be my responsibility to...
But your 8% is just design, it's not design and...
It is.
It is both?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Generally it is, yeah. Most jobs for consulting engineer is construction administration. Unless a job warrant, which is the job doesn't, you have to have a separate construction inspection on a
Yes.
daily to daily observation, then it's a separate money.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Next on Borough Administrative Topics, we have sale of an asset, senior bus. Alan?
Mayor, thank you. As has been indicated, John Lynch, our Superintendent of Public Works, is here. He provided me with a memorandum indicating that the senior bus has major holes and rust in the frame and the cross members and the chassis. And it's been, the senior bus, this is the oldest senior bus from 2000, has now been taken out of service. John can certainly answer any questions about the status of the bus at this point in time, but given the information that was supplied to the mayor and council, I believe we're of the opinion that this bus should be sold or disposed of at this time. This bus would be sold if you choose to get rid of it that way through an auction process. The proceeds would have to go back to the Community Development Block Grant, since we had a grant of $48,000 to purchase the bus at that time. Upon investigation and review of the contract and further discussion with the block grant, it was determined that the borough could keep about 10% of the proceeds from the sale of the asset, given the fact that we made a contribution to the purchase of the bus as well. So I guess there are pictures coming around, John? Yes. The original pictures, and I know we provided copies of the pictures to the mayor and council. And at this point in time, after you've had the opportunity to review it, I'd be looking for, authority to go ahead and put the bus out for auction. Now, one thing that I did request in the memorandum was that the borough attorney be brought in to put together a proper release so that there was no liability or exposure to the borough for selling this type of a vehicle with the, that's damaged in this way. I wouldn't want somebody to buy it and then use it without the knowledge of the, the problems that are associated with it at this time.
Alan, isn't it just sold as is?
It may be, but
Generally, you usually have a disclaimer or implied warranties as
So
to
selling
fitness.
this borough-owned one is different than a
I think most
person?
products have an implied warranty as to use.
Not a car, though.
It doesn't matter, I think it's still a product.
what's the make of this bus?
Ford,
It's a Ford?
so 2001, it has 84,000 miles.
Wow, look at the chassis.
John, it's out of service right now?
Yes,
How long has it been out of service?
as of March 19th.
Was there a reason we took it out of service at that time?
It was brought to my attention, pictures were taken, and I started the amendment process.
Do you, was this truck bought used, or did we buy it new?
No.
No.
And it's 2001?
2000.
2000?
2001.
2001.
2001?
The frame is just rotted right through.
Any idea how all that happened? I mean, is it just, it seems like a lot for, I haven't seen the pictures yet, but from what people are, it seems like a lot for 11 years.
Yeah, you'd think that the frame would have...
If we bought it new.
Would be warranted for a long period of time. It's not like paint or anything like that, I mean,
No idea how all this happened?
No,
Is this, I mean, is this normal wear and tear on a bus? I never had a bus before, I don't know, but
it's not normal
just seems
wear
like a
and
lot
tear.
for 11 years.
It's not normal wear and tear on my trucks. I mean, if we want to get into it, I've pushed hard many times about the bus drivers washing the vehicle, washing the undercarriage, and, bus drivers have been written up many a times, and they don't wash, they don't do what they're supposed to do, and, I'm not their babysitter.
Is it from just being outside through the elements, year after year?
It's the elements, it's the salt.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is in the wintertime when there's salt on the road, they're not rinsing the salt off?
What-
Or weren't, in
They're
your
not rinsing,
opinion?
they're washing in the summertime,
Okay.
when did this first come to your attention?
March 19th.
March? And we got the money to buy the bus from a community development block grant?
Part of it, we got $48,000 from Block Grant.
And we were just awarded the grant for this year already, right?
Yes.
Just a couple of months late. We could have put in for money for a new bus.
We have a bus that's in service.
Yeah,
This
I
is
know.
the second bus.
Is that second bus being maintained the same way?
It certainly is.
What's the year of our second bus?
It's 2000 and, I believe, 2008.
2008? 2010. All right.
And 3 years ago, from our budget process, we were supposed to have a committee to analyze the bus and the bus costs and whether to continue the bus or whether to have the county do the bus services, which they provide anyway. And I don't know where that committee went or if it's still performing its tasks or not. But today we have a bus driving around, a 10-person bus driving one person. It's not the most effective means of transportation, in my opinion.
Yeah, last Monday I was down at the SCORE and they were complaining that there's inadequate senior bus service. Is there anything on the market that we can do to treat the chassis? Is there any spray that you can put on the chassis of the bus to like that? I know you can do it for other equipment. You could do that Rhino coat to prevent corrosion. Anything you know about to do the chassis?
Well, that one is foregone.
Oh, no, I don't mean about that one.
Undercarriage spray on the other one.
Yeah.
But again, if drivers don't maintain and they don't clean the bus, this is what we get.
All right.
I've complained about this numerous times.
Who are the direct supervisors of the bus drivers?
There are no direct supervisors of the bus.
Okay,
We had a volunteer who was a direct supervisor of the bus for several years.
okay.
All we have is a driver. We don't have
People,
we don't have a maintenance, somebody doing maintenance on the bus. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, do I have a motion to sell this bus?
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
What is that thing? Not the same thing.
John, real quick before you leave, sorry, just, what year is the other bus again?
2010.
2010. Should we put something on the agenda to discuss how we're going to maintain the other one going forward, and who's going to maintain it, and who's going to own that maintenance? Obviously, the responsibility has to fall on somebody, and if it's going to go like this, then probably another handful of years, we're going to have to replace that one for the same kind of damage.
Yeah, let's put something on the agenda.
Do we have to make a motion on it, or just put it on the agenda for next time?
Well, I don't know of any committee that handles this issue.
I don't think we need a committee, we can just discuss it here, I would
Right.
think, in a work session. Or just give it to Alan right now.
Well, we can discuss
Well, we're going to discuss, we're going to have John come back up and explain
Yeah.
maintenance on the truck.
Yeah, obviously, we'll go through
Yeah,
all
we'll do
of
it that way. I mean,
What needs to be done?
Fire the people that are driving the bus currently and get new drivers, or...
Yeah, but John, the guys that drive the bus are senior citizens themselves. And some of them are
No,
volunteers.
there's two guys, they both get paid.
Yeah, I know they get paid,
So it's not a volunteer.
but they're still senior citizens.
One guy's not that senior.
right.
He's sitting there and score at the
Yeah,
table.
he's the senior.
He's a senior.
The other guy's not.
Alan.
In a personnel session, I'll be glad to talk about how difficult it is to hire bus drivers with the CDL license. We've had an extremely tough time in finding these type of people to work for these hours. So that's another issue. To get rid of these particular drivers, you'll have to find drivers to provide that service.
Right. Paul?
Right, so the question is not, I mean, it's possibly the driver, how he's driving, but we're looking at body rot. I own trucks on the road, so I see, this stuff happen all the time. I've had trucks that has happened, but they happen sometimes 15 to 20 years into it. Why this has happened in 10 years on that truck? Is that what's happened on your trucks in the DPW? Do you see that happening within 10 years?
Well, that's what I said, this doesn't happen to my trucks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, how do you prevent that from happening?
Wash it off.
I know that. I want to hear from him.
Remain.
Okay, so are you spraying it underneath? You doing?
We wash it, we spray it, we undercoat it.
Okay, so basically what they're doing is they're driving the bus, parking it, and walking away, and that's it. Okay, so this, obviously, we need to have this bus taken at least once, twice a month to the cleaners, walking through the I mean,
What cleaner?
there's the body place in Hackensack. You take it right in and you wash it down yourself, or we find a hose, or I don't know. I'm trying to figure out something here to have a special meeting on this. It sounds ridiculous. When I take my trucks for my own business, I'll take it down to the Jiffy Lube. We'll take some spray, clean it with salt off, and move on.
I know, but we had that idea about, bringing the fire trucks and the police cars down.
Nah, we're talking about-
You can't, it's a borough-owned vehicle, right?
Yeah.
So who takes care of the borough-owned vehicles? John Lynch. It's more on his plate. He's understaffed now.
All right, let him rot.
No, I'm just pointing it out. John's the guy we have to have a meeting with.
Okay.
Come to,
If it's going to be more detailed than that, I mean,
come to an agreement.
so do you want to have a meeting?
Yeah.
Do we need a motion on that, or are we just going to?
No, we'll just meet with John and figure something out. John, you said that, the thing that interests me is you said that the county provides, I don't think the county provides
They were in town today, Mayor.
senior citizen transportation services.
They do.
The county was in town today picking up residents, borough residents, for transport.
Uh-huh.
John, do you know why we don't use the county as our primary?
I believe the buses were bought for, let's say, to put your name on it, to drive the residents around.
So you're saying, to the best of your knowledge, the need for the buses was not there?
If I may.
Yeah.
I think we may provide a different type of service than what the county provides. We provide a service to specific pharmacies, doctor's appointments, food shopping, things like that.
Right.
And the county doesn't provide that?
Well, I'm not so certain. I don't have that information with me tonight, but they may not provide a service where they're going to take you to your doctor and then pick you up from your doctor and things like that. So it's a very specific trip service. It's also used for general transportation when that need arises. If there's a social function that the seniors want to attend, we might make arrangements for that, or a trip to the mall or something like that, if it can be arranged. But the primary focus is food, pharmacy, and medical appointments.
All right, so, so as I see it, this is the bus is only used for the senior citizens, for no other group.
Mhm.
So we have a liaison to SCORE. We have 2 liaisons or 1?
2.
It's you and
Mr. Ball.
and Al. So maybe you two can investigate what the county transportation program provides, and if we are duplicating services by our buses, and just report back to us.
Does that bus have the wheelchair access?
Yes.
Does have all that?
Okay. What else? All right, we're done with the senior bus for. All right, also on for discussion, we have redevelopment planning services, the RFQ results.
Mayor, I've listed this topic with the question for the council as to whether you would like to conduct interviews of the 5 firms or individuals that we received the RFQ information from.
This is for a planner to review all of the town zoning regulations and the master plan, and to suggest modifications, right?
Redevelopment planner, wherever that takes us, you know.
Okay. Well, what's the council's prerogative? What do they want to do? You want to have interviews?
Do you know who the names are?
Yeah, there was-
Who the names
Yeah.
are?
Burgess Associates, Higher Gruel Associates, Phillips Priest, Rogile,
Right.
Remington Vernick, and Mazer Consulting.
Mr. Burgess was the borough's original redevelopment planner prior to Mr. Nellison. He did some of the original
They did.
work for the borough. Phillips Price did some work, from what I understand, from objectors to that plan. Some of the property owners during the original development of that plan. And the other firms, I don't know how much local work they do, but
Well, if you're going to interview one, you have to interview them all, because they all submitted RFPs.
they also submitted about a year and a half ago.
I don't know, we just got them in our correspondence, not very recently.
No, we got these also last year.
Last year, 2011, that's the date we received them.
Yeah?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, you want to table it? You want to schedule it?
Or any of these from the redevelopment attorney that we had in here, you know, a couple of them said that they had recommendations on these planners as well, I thought. Have any of these come from their recommendations? I don't think so, since it's before them, so. I mean, I'd like to get recommendations from them, or if they have anybody that would like to submit RFQs on this.
They did indicate that night that they did work with Phillips Price Shapiro. They have worked with Mr. Burgess. I'm pretty sure they probably worked with Remington, Vernick, and Mazer. They're pretty well statewide, so, but I think what they said was they would work with whoever we wanted them to work with.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to interview them? I think it's the best way, at least so that some of the people who are not familiar with the type
I
of
don't-
services, I think...
Yeah, I think we should interview them, but I think that if there's, the redevelopment attorney, when he looks at our town and, sees maybe a good fit with somebody else who's done similar work or something, and, they can recommend additional people who they think may be a good fit. I don't think it'd be bad to get, a couple extra names.
I don't know, I think I don't think most redevelopment attorneys would make that kind of recommendation. Generally, it's the reverse. It's usually the
But they may-
planner who works with
But
the
they
attorney.
did, but I think they probably have done certain projects with certain
Yeah.
planners. So they have working relationships with them.
You may want to get into their background and see how they can help us in knowing what our situation is in terms of current development.
I'd like to set up interviews and hear from them and see what they have to say.
All right, do I have a second?
Second. Can we also go back to the attorney and see if he has any additional recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna take a month to set these interviews up, so plenty of time to email our new redevelopment attorney, provide him these names, ask him if he has any additional planners he can recommend to us. You guys can make a motion to reopen the RFP period for additional applications.
Great.
All right, can we have a roll call?
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilman Court.
Yes.
Councilman Corco.
Yes.
Councilman Mignone.
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni.
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo.
Yes.
All right, good. All right, Alan, you can set that up. Thank you. Number 2 is the 4th of July Committee changing its title to Special Events Committee, and consisting of 8 residents appointed by the mayor and the vice consent of council from various committees to include 2 elected officials and the recreation director. So this was, I guess, a simultaneous idea that Al and I and Kathleen just popped into our heads all at the same time. Do you have a list of...
I have some of a list. I think that it has to be kind of looked in further. The 4th of July is like a major project.
Right.
And they have a bigger budget. And then the other ones are smaller activities. So I don't know if we should just keep that on its own and then combine everything else. The Easter egg hunt, tree lighting,
Wait,
Halloween
small.
parade,
Go slow, go slow. Easter egg hunt,
tree lighting, Halloween munchkin parade,
Halloween parade,
River Edge Day.
River Edge Day.
So we might have to, I don't know if the 4th of July should be lumped into the special events.
It's only 5. I thought we...
We have more. I have to think of more.
Just so we're clear, the River Aid, the egg hunt, the Halloween parade, are run by the Rec Commission. Those are Rec Commission events, so I don't know that they would be, special events committee. You would be taking away their authority then, the Rec Commission, and transferring it to the special events committee. So...
Yeah, but that wouldn't be the...
They operate it and oversee it now.
I know, but that wouldn't be the jurisdiction of the special events. The special events committee is just there to coordinate, because there are events in town that are done by private organizations. Doesn't the Lions Club do a couple events during the year? We have, there were a lot of events during the year. There were plant sales and pumpkin sales and...
I mean, these are all done by individual, people looking to earn money.
Yeah, I know. But if they're big enough and they need coordination with traffic control or something like that, this is what I envisioned the public events committee getting involved in. Just making sure that when you have kids running across the street for the Easter egg hunt, even though it's sponsored by, the women's club or the junior women's club, that there's an officer there directing traffic.
I think we have to flush it out.
I mean, again, the Easter egg hunt is the rec commission, it's not a private committee,
They partner with the junior women's club.
Yeah,
but it's a
partner
rec,
with the
but
junior women's club.
but it's the rec commission that does it. I don't know that, when I envision this, I'm envisioning something that assists with River Edge Day, 4th of July, Volunteer Day, and I'd like to add maybe an activity or two that rec does not do, but I certainly don't want to add a layer of bureaucracy that our organizations in town have to go through to get something done. That's not I don't want to step on anybody else's toes when they're trying to get something done.
Or you might become.
That's not what what I'm envisioning is specifically for events that the town sponsors and does that are not currently inside of rec. They're outside of rec.
River Edge Day is.
What?
River Edge Day is run by rec.
It's really run by Bobby.
Who's the
But it's not the commission.
director?
Yeah, but it's not the commission. Bobby is not the commission. They're two separate things. There's the commission and then there's Bobby. So to that extent, River Edge Day should have its own thing because it's not a rec commission event. And 4th of July, so, I mean, that's how I'm seeing it. Volunteer Day is something, Appreciation Day that was created that probably could have, had additional assistance, and to bring in, all these other committees, beautification, historic, cultural center, environmental. I mean, this is just it's a nightmare.
No, I mean, that doesn't, environmental has a cleanup day, right?
Yeah, but to put one person, to make sure that you have to take one person from each of these committees to put it on this super committee, essentially,
I think it's a suggestion, I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what this should be. It should have a very limited role in terms of very specific activities that it oversees and it works with, and not this super committee that is just another layer of bureaucracy for people in town who want to do something. That's just not how I envision it.
It's not necessarily bureaucracy, if it can be streamlining things.
It's a bureaucracy.
Not really.
It's a layer of government that doesn't currently exist, that you want to put in place so that people in town, when they want to get something done, have to go through. It's bureaucracy.
Not necessarily.
It's government involvement in private activities. It's precisely what bureaucracy is. That's what this is, and that's what you're proposing. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. So,
Are you suggesting it should be for events which are not under the auspices of the Recreation Committee?
exactly.
Okay, simple as that. And there has to be a mechanism for outside groups then to come to
They-
request whether...
They
this
come
committee
right
has
now
involved.
to get their permits and everything else that they need, that they don't need to come to a committee that's going to meet once a month, that God forbid they don't get that committee right when it meets once a month, and then, or that committee doesn't have a quorum, and then, oh my God, I can't get my permit because that committee didn't have a quorum, and it's a whole mess. So that's not what I want to see happen at all. And it's not a commission, this would be a committee.
Can I ask questions? Anyone spoken to Bobby about this or the rec commission about this idea?
Yes.
She seemed in favor of it.
Okay, if she's in favor of it and maybe the rec commission, why don't we bring them in, ask them to talk to us about it, instead of trying to create a top-down solution, why don't we see what they would like and build from there? Let's get some grassroots consensus. Maybe the rec commission would like to hand off some of this stuff, maybe they wouldn't, but right now it seems like we're all talking about this and the people who are really doing the work right now are not being heard. And that's a suggestion.
All we were talking about initially
Yeah.
was taking the 4th of July committee, changing its name, adding a couple of members to it,
Mhm.
because the 4th of July committee runs and organizes very well the 4th of July. And we would like these other events that we can list, what events they're going to help coordinate and what events they're not going to help coordinate. On a resolution or whatever. We want to put the Easter egg hunt and the tree lighting on it, we don't want to put it
The 4th of July
on.
committee, we just met the other night, it was me, Bobby, and Alphonse.
There you go.
I mean, you know, the
But you,
input
Bobby,
is lacking.
and Alphonse don't want the responsibility to do 9 events. It's a lot of work. You should have some help.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Who does the 9 events? I mean, is it moving forward now? I mean, or is it just a mishmash of stuff going on?
Mishmash.
It's a mission.
It is a mishmash.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's something that's, you know...
Well, I mean, certain events run, you know, the other day was the River Edge Run. That's the Rec Commission. Went very well.
Very well
Record
organized.
attendance.
Yep.
I was there in the morning to help set up. Bobby runs it like, you know, like clockwork. I mean, it was, you know, people, boom, chairs go here, tables go there, tents go here. 7:30, it was done, it was set up. She did a tremendous job, and she works with the police and DPW and everybody else to get it done. But, you know, I don't want to, that's like, would special events now take over the River Edge Run? I don't think so,
it's
because
gonna
it's already got,
Yeah, it's getting
it's
kinda
people who do it. This
Right,
is
but
just for
maybe
things
the smaller
that don't
things.
really have,
It runs great now.
But maybe these small things, maybe, you know, with these bigger events, you
but
would
this should
like, you
just
wouldn't
be
mind some
for,
help.
but this should just be for events that right now are kind of orphans that don't have anybody, and you want to take them in and help run them. Not for things that already have people who do them and take care of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The River Edge Run.
Well, that's why I don't want to take over, you know, have this thing have any jurisdiction over the Easter egg hunt, or the tree lighting, or the car show.
You gotta have
I don't
some
want-
bylaws or be specific on what you're doing here, because it just seems like we're just throwing everybody into the pot here.
No,
And,
that's
I
not
mean,
what, that's
I'm
not
just
the
saying the
intention.
4th of July run's good, the River Edge run runs well, I mean, all these
4th of
stuff.
July
Yeah,
could
they're
use,
big.
4th of July has Bobby, and that's why it runs well, because she's had Bob, you know, because you have Bobby doing it.
Right.
But you don't have people who are actually appointed to that committee. You don't have, it's not even a formalized committee, it's just, you know, it's our committee, but it's not on the books anywhere. And you don't have people who are, you know, have specific roles or functions or whatnot. You just sometimes have groups come in who are like, you know, we're doing this because we've always done this. And that's fine, but, and even River Edge Day, you know, or Volunteer Appreciation Day, these are sort of orphans that could use
What
a
about-
group to work on them.
What about
but-
the car show?
Well, the car show's the
Cultural center.
I know, but do they need coordination among
Probably not. They've been doing it for years.
police or EMS or anything like that? Do they need
We should
need
just say, but we
coordinating?
have to look into it.
Well, they,
We'll wait for
I
time.
mean, you know, again, they may, but they've been doing it for years. So I just don't want to create the super committee
We can make it better.
that for anything to get done, people have to go through. That's not, I don't think that
No,
should be the rule.
my idea is just for this committee to expedite the needs of these organizations that want to have a big public event in town, not to get in the way of anything.
That's what ultimately happens. That's the nature of government.
Johnny?
Two things. One, if there's a group that does have a huge event going on, I believe they do have to fill out some sort of permit, and then they have to get, you know, some sort of approval. So there is a process in
Yeah, but
the
it's just
works
to use,
for that.
it's just
And they
to
don't-
use, they only fill out a permit to use a park or something like that.
No, but it would include the police. There's a sign-off by the chief of police so that he
Public
can...
safety.
Public safety. So that would go through the motions, and they don't need any committee. But I also agree with, my second thing is I agree with Tom. Bobby is an integral part of each one of these events that we're talking about, except for the private ones. To have her come up for a few minutes and just say what she would want help, what she sees a need for, I think is the best option. I don't think you need the whole commission. Bobby's, she's got a piece in all of it. I'm sure she can make the suggestion as to whether, you know, 4th of July needs or wants this to be special events, because maybe some people on 4th of July don't want to do the other events. You know, she can come back with some suggestions.
All right, that sounds good. We can hear from Bobby Conway on her suggestion on the scope of this committee, proposed committee.
So we get Bobby on the phone.
Oh, you can ask her to come in. And that brings us to the next issue, which is DPW Subcommittee. Whose topic is that?
Well, Mayor, if I may, that's mine. This has been an ongoing or an evolving issue that the borough has had to deal with from time to time. The ordinance establishing the Rec Commission gives them powers of creating maintenance standards. There's a funding obligation by this mayor and council to come up with the money from property taxes to maintain the parks and buildings and grounds. Obviously, during these economic times, those budgets in the municipal budget have been downsized significantly. Also, there are various other user fees and trust accounts that are established by the Rec Commission to assist in the maintenance of the parks and grounds. So there's a certain amount of confusion, I believe, as to creating these maintenance standards and where the payment for these standards is going to come from. I think we would be best served, the borough would be best served if a committee was appointed to clearly look through the maintenance standards and tie that to various funding mechanisms so that those pots of money are identified to pay these bills.
Paul?
I sat down with John Lynch with this situation a couple times. John and I talked about this, and to get another committee together is going to be, between you and me, it's going to be a waste of time. I would like to just sit down with John, put together something, present it, because this seems to be a problem that there's an overlap of funding that he has put in his budget to cover the cost with the rec spending on ball fields and stuff like that and specific items. It just seems to put another committee together is going to be, we're just going to hash things out that don't get anywhere. We had a list of stuff that was covered by the DPW, and then we had a list of stuff that was covered by the rec, what they do. And there's such a crossover of everything that we feel that the rec calls the DPW all the time for stuff that's not budgeted into the DPW's at the end of the year. And I think that's what that's basically the bottom line we're talking about. One suggestion I made, and I was talking to John about it, was, if we can possibly get a portion of the rec underneath the DPW, when it comes to ball fields and stuff like that, have the DPW make the decision of where the cost goes on things, instead of having the rec put out a requisition saying, we need this done, can you have you guys over here tomorrow to take care of it? And just the conversation we had in the past couple of years about this has been an ongoing situation even before we became council. And I would like to just either have John and I present it to everybody if you feel that's something you want to do.
Whatever the council would like.
Yeah, I understand that, but to get another commission together, we have so many commissions. I'm kind of lost on what commission goes, what group, what we're doing anymore, and it just seems like when we're dealing one-on-one, and then we can bring it back to you and say, okay, this is what we figured out. Being a liaison to the DPW, I can present this thing pretty much by myself and say, okay, this is where we stand. This is some of our ideas. Can we go here? And then hash it out at a work session. And it's going to save us a lot of time, and it's going to save us a lot of headaches.
All right.
It's fine with me. Present the ideas and we go from there.
Yeah, present the ideas. If we need a legal opinion, we can get one from Sam. Because the rec commission is an independent commission, and anytime you want to move money from an independent commission to a department, there are legal issues involved.
Mayor, just a handout for the council to go over, whether to decide or not to decide.
Thanks, John. John, explain this to us. Explain the chart.
Well, the Public Works budget has always been considered the mothership.
Right.
And as you know, over the years how the Public Works budget has been reduced, and my ability to help others with a reduced budget, I have not been able to do, or helping others is not become a day-to-day practice. It's become, well, you know, if I could find some money here or there, you know. You can see the red from 2012 to 2009, where I requested those particular budgets and received the budgets on the left. The budgets from 2008 to 2003 are mostly in the green, where I requested X amount and received X amount, so I was in the positive of my requests. There are particular reasons for those. It was the library, public safety, Borough Hall, Public Works, and Firehouse, the lighting changes, and it was unfortunately the flood that happened in 2006, which we needed a lot of money to help fund the trailers and the cleanup of the Public Works. So you'll see that. So my 2012 budget is lower than the 2005 budget by $1,600. So when I'm being asked to help other departments, it's not practical. In the past, we've been able to help other departments, including the police department, fire department, shade tree, environmental, beautification. I mean, you could go on and on and on. But the job description of myself and that of the Recreation Commissioner is very clearly in black and white. But it's up to the mayor and council to decide, well, what's a public building, what's not a public building. You know, we have what I consider urinals and a snack stand at KDG and the Little League, and another urinals and a building over here. You know, is that considered a public building? In my opinion, no. I believe that's the responsibility of the Rec Commission. They are supposed to come to the mayor and council and go before you and request a budget. In years past, it's always been pushed on to the Public Works Department. Repairs to these buildings also have been pushed on, obviously, to the Public Works Department. Years past, I had 4 people who do buildings and maintenance, and now I have 1. Times have changed. So stated on there is the Borough Code Book, the Recreation Commissioner's responsibilities, and my responsibilities. I have no problem taking on their responsibilities, but I need a budget. But then, when it comes to that, you know, then I say, well, what do I need somebody else for? Why is there overlapping responsibilities?
Johnny?
So, my understanding in the budget that the rec has somebody on staff as well to help with some of this stuff. And I believe it's for some of those buildings that you mentioned. Can you give a little detail as far as what are you being asked to do? And besides the regular maintenance of the parks, that you consider not your job
We're
description?
talking about buildings right now.
Hey, Mayor, I
Yeah.
don't believe the employee who assists the Recreation Department does what the Department of Public Works does. There's no major building repairs, placing locks, you know, all that goes into maintaining a building. I don't think he does things like that. He does minor washing and, you know, maintenance, other maintenance
He
items.
drags the field.
Yeah.
He opens doors, he picks up cigarette butts.
He works on the grounds, right?
Well, yeah, if that's what you call it. He picks up the garbage and and he does what Bobby asked him to do.
He turns the lights on down the field.
Yeah, but he doesn't do building maintenance,
He's
right?
not fixing anything.
Yeah.
So then there is an overlap, is what you're saying, Alan?
No, there's an overlap in the code in terms of the responsibility. John specifically has an ordinance that makes him responsible for public buildings and grounds. There's also the Rec Commission ordinance, or in the code, that talks about their powers and duties over maintenance and things like that. So, as I perceive it, there's not only a conflict in terms of responsibility in the code or the ordinance for these two entities, but also the funding responsibility of getting these things done. It's always been an area of contention going back many, many years, and it gets tougher as there are less resources that can be put towards trying to maintain things at the same standard that we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, this again is the same conversation and arguments we had with the open space funding. Can you give it to DPW? It should be for rec. And we essentially, we don't have a Parks and Recreation department in this town. We have Bobby. If you look at their line item for recreation, their budget is essentially Bobby's salary. I mean, that's it. There's really not much more. And the one gentleman we're talking about, I think his salary is like $7,000. I mean, it's not, it's nothing, so that's their whole budget, is basically Bobby's salary and this other gentleman. The rest of the rec programs are basically user fee funded. I mean, that's how rec is operated, it's user fees. That's how it, how it runs. I agree, well, to say there's overlap in the code is a little, there is no DPW ordinance. We don't have one that created DPW. We have John's position as an ordinance, but we don't have a DPW ordinance. So, certainly can you read this to say that Bobby has to, yes, she's in charge of, or the rec commission has to maintain the recreation facilities, but she does that through DPW because she doesn't have funds of her own to maintain it. Either we have to fund Bobby more and create a Parks and Recreation department, which I don't think anybody wants to do. I don't think anybody here wants to buy more trucks or hire more people to maintain the ball fields. I don't think that's effective use of money, but perhaps the ordinances do need to be rewritten and a DPW ordinance created so that, to be quite honest, I would see that maintenance of the fields is a DPW function, and recreation should simply be coming up with and administering the programming and not maintaining the fields. And I think that does create the solution. I know not for John, but I think given how the town is constructed, and its departments, unless this mayor and council wants to create another department and fund another department, the work has to get done. I mean, our athletic activities in town are a huge portion of life in this community, and to say that the work shouldn't get done or, would destroy the quality of the town. So it's important and it has to get done. And so, let's figure out how to get it done, but that work has to get done.
I think the whole question is it's not getting it done, it's how we're budgeting at the end of the year, because when you have the rec doing stuff that the DPW is or not supposed to do, there's a cost at the end of the year that either DPW is eating it up or the rec is relying on the DPW. So it's more of a job description. And when John and I sat around and talked about this, my recommendation was, even though the rec is a commission, if we can do some decommissioning on that in some way and say, okay, give DPW more of a jurisdiction over the stuff that's in there, it would probably make the position of the DPW go smoother than to have somebody from the rec department say, we need this done here, 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 here.
I mean, certainly, I believe the rec could be decommissioned and become a committee, I mean, Oradell has a committee as opposed to a commission. But what you would, in that then, what you would be talking about, I guess the two of you would be, rather than these trust funds or these accounts that rec has, those funding would not come into the rec department, but rather go into the general accounts of the municipality.
We go into the general accounts of the municipality, and we would have to have
Fund DPW through that.
we would have to have a Department of Recreation. We'd have to have a department head who was the Director of Recreation, who would administer all the programs.
Yeah, which, I mean, we do. We have Bobby.
Yeah, but she's not a department head.
No, because she doesn't have any
Yeah.
employees under her. There's no one to head. She's it.
Alan?
The rec commission ordinance was based on the statute.
Yeah.
You could have Sam look at that to see whether there's any flexibility in modifying that, or whether there isn't any, whether, if you're going to have a commission, it's drawn on the statute.
There's
that's
no
it.
flexibility. Either you have a committee and a department head, or you have a commission. And technically, if you want to, go by the letter of the statute, technically technically Bobby works for the commission. We just set her salary. But that's the way it's set up now.
Maybe we do need a committee.
Johnny, out of this 15,000 that you're down, what is materials or whatever for the parks? Out of that number, how much is that is park maintenance or whatever the rec department is asking you to do?
Well, it's hard to say because, again, I don't get anything from the rec commission as far as what their plans are and their goals are to repair or replace during the year before. Basically, we get when something's broke, we fix it. So what came to head was 3 bills basically totaling almost $1,000 in a 2 weeks period. But again, I mean, the council has to decide whether we're going to fund the public works budget, but then when I come up here in November, I'm constantly getting hit over the head to reduce the budget.
Well, what are the 3 bills? You got to give us this information, John.
Well, I provided to Alan, and I don't know if he made copies or not. One was for a 6-gallon water heater, $238.
For a water heater, gas, electric, what? Electric.
Is that repair or is it a replacement?
Replacement.
Replacement.
Do you have this in front of you?
No.
No, they don't.
No.
Repair a broken water line inside
A
the
water
bathroom
line inside the
wall.
wall, and that was $285. And replace an upper and lower electrical water heater, the element for $265.
And,
But there's roofs, there's leaking roofs, which I can speak of at this time, which need to be repaired or replaced. I feel this is the Recreation Commission's responsibility.
But what, I'm just, so you came up, you presented your budget. What did you take out of your budget?
I didn't take anything out of my budget.
What do you plan not to do?
I don't factor in the recreation, the needs, because that's not my responsibility, as per the code book.
So then why has this always been paid through DPW?
Well, good question.
Because DPW is in charge of buildings and grounds.
So then it is the responsibility of the DPW. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't have the DPW's in charge of buildings and grounds, but it's not in my thing. It just,
I would
it can't
say,
be.
I would
I'm sorry.
say to take the time to read the code book, 79-6, and educate yourselves to see what their responsibility is as a commission versus my responsibility.
But if the DPW is in charge of buildings and grounds,
The commission, I'll explain it to you. And Sam has the ultimate authority as the borough attorney. The Recreation Commission regulates the use of the recreation facilities. They can say, when a team has the use of a particular field, they can say what time an event is going to occur, what time you're turning on the lights, what time you're turning off the lights. But the buildings and grounds are under the what? The jurisdiction of the DPW. The use and the implementation of the programming is the Rec Commission. But the Rec Commission doesn't really have any duty to fix a broken pipe or anything like that.
I disagree, Mayor.
I know you disagree.
Well, John, you're referring to 79-4, where it says establish requirements for the maintenance, right? That would...
Well, if you read 79B-3A, it says
Yes.
the Recreation Commission shall implement programs to maintain and operate the recreation facilities. 79-4A-1, Recreation Commission shall regulate lands and facilities to establish requirements for the maintenance. 79-4A-5 recommends the budget is to be presented to the mayor and council. Their budget.
Which should include those items.
That's correct. So, if again, I would say to educate yourself with the code book. If you want to change the code book, change the code book. Doesn't matter to me. I need a budget to maintain the facilities if this mayor and council expects me to do so. But again, you know, I'll say, well then why do we need a full-time recreation director?
John, when Bobby calls you to fix something, do you do it?
I feel that's the way it's
That's what I'm saying.
been.
When she calls you to fix
Practice.
something, you do it. See, that's where we're running across the line. Did you ever say no to her? Like, no, I'm not fixing that.
Well,
Sure, it's on you.
19 years before my predecessor, in the past 6 years, it's always been that the Public Works is going to do this.
All right.
And that's why it's come to a head tonight.
Yeah.
And again, if the mayor, whatever the mayor and council wants to decide, but as John said, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, I'm going to maintain and not provide me a budget.
What you're really here saying is that you need more funds to complete this mission.
No doubt.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
Well, it's
In
not
the
even-
glory days, if I had $113,000 to maintain buildings and grounds today, we wouldn't be talking.
But it's not only that, Tom. There's a sway back and forth of responsibilities of what's going on. You know, you lean one way responsibility to do the fields, whatever. That's huge out of your budget. You know, if Bobby's ordering clay at the beginning of the year, and it's your job to do it, you know, but you got to show your budget. There's too much confusion of what's going on with the laws here of what this says, because this is still confusing. It doesn't make it black and white. It's kind of gray because of how we've been handling it. You know, so I'm just going back to our conversation. Listen.
I don't believe it's gray. I believe it's black and white.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, one second. I'm just saying that how we've been dealing with it has been gray. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, how we've been dealing with it's been, okay, we'll kind of, and that's why even in our conversation, we said that it's got to be this, and this, period.
Well, again, and this isn't just the recreation. This goes to the fire department, this goes to the police department, this goes to the beautification, this goes to the shade tree, where, you know, maybe in the years past, we cleaned or we did a certain thing in a certain building. Well, now, I don't do that anymore. And then it's, well, why not? Now I'm the bad guy. You know, why don't I clean 10 River Edge Road anymore? Now I'm the bad guy. You know, so, but without a budget to do that, these nice-to-haves don't happen anymore.
But 10 River Edge Road, that's the little shade tree building? The deed to the property, is that owned by the borough? Or is it owned by Shade? Or is it owned by a private entity?
It's a borough building.
It's a borough building, right?
But I don't have a budget to clean any building in this town other than the Public Works building. That's the only budget I have for cleaning.
Well, then, come November,
Well, I would be happy to get into that, because I spent almost now 4 years
come
talking to
November, when
Paul
you
about
make,
cleaning borough buildings.
come November, when you make your budget presentation, you should list all of the buildings that are owned by the borough that ultimately you have to maintain, because if something breaks, you're gonna get called. If a window breaks down there at 10 River Edge Road, and they gotta replace the window, who are they gonna call?
Well, I like to think over the past 6 years, I've demonstrated my ability to put before the mayor and council the budget and what is in the budget. And if you guys would like to take that more into detail, that's no problem with me.
Johnny?
Here's my frustration with this. This year, we took the budget in two parts. We broke it up into personnel, and we broke it up. The finance committee took the other expenditures. And we met a couple times, and at our first meeting, Alan reported to us that you and Alan sat down and you came up with all these additional cuts. And I think we took that and we implemented that, and then we cut other things. But you say that we cut the budget, and yes, we may have, but those were your suggestions that you and Alan worked out. So now you're coming back and saying, well, you guys cut me, you guys did it. But really, you both sat down, and I would have thought you had sat down and hashed all your budget line items out. And if this was a concern, I don't remember hearing about it in our meetings. But that's the frustration I'm having now. It's almost like with the tree truck, when afterwards it was like, well, I got to add 16,000 back for maintenance because I didn't have that in there. It's a big surprise when you guys sat down, administrator, department head, and worked this out, and then here we are now with additional expenses.
I mean, the thing of it is, respectfully, John, even if you got your $15,000, and let's say, you know, the guy where we said you could hire and bring on in September, you had him all year, one guy for 6 months is not going to be, I know you're not going to be sitting here saying, oh, I could do the parks with this one guy, I could do, you know, all the buildings in town with one guy. 15,000 or almost 16,000 is not going to do it. One guy's not going to do it. So, I mean, what you're telling us, from what I think, is that you need, like, you know, $100,000 more in your budget because you need 2 or 3 guys, and that's the only way you're going to be able to get anything done. It's not 15,000. I mean, what I'm hearing, I think, is I need $100,000 more, you know, so I can hire like 3 guys. I mean, that's what I'm taking away. I'm not saying 16,000 is going to cure all your problems. I mean, I just don't see how that's going to happen.
See, I don't see that as the takeaway. I see the takeaway as
But 16,000 is not going to...
John saying, I want to be relieved of the responsibility of the snack stand and the American Legion building and the Shade Tree building.
And the fire companies.
Any building that's not that's not the borough building, I want to be relieved of the responsibility of.
I don't see how we can do that.
I think that's what John's saying.
I guess, or the alternative
I
is...
think I made it clear what I'm saying.
But
If you can't, if my budget is going to be continued to be cut, reduced, and unfunded, these nice-to-haves and these overlapping of what is expected from me, it's not going to happen.
But your budget was cut, John, because it didn't snow. That's a lot of these cuts.
We're talking about building and grounds.
Yeah, but
We're not talking about...
I mean, your overall budget, though, was cut because it didn't snow. That's... Yes?
We're not talking about the snow budget. We're talking about buildings and grounds. It's right in front of you.
Yeah, I know. Your budget doesn't... Your budget is impossible to go, this is for this is for that, this is for this. It's impossible, because it's not organized that way. It's just not. So, you're saying it was cut from buildings and grounds. I'll be honest with you, I don't really know that it was cut from buildings and grounds.
Well, that's why the department head's in front of you showing these figures. So if you don't trust the department head what I'm saying, why am I here?
So you're saying that this 15,000, it doesn't include anything from like salt and stuff like that? That 15,000 that you're down is all from
Can I have the
buildings and
opportunity to
grounds?
get my notebook and see what those cuts
Yeah,
were?
go ahead.
Because that was my question before. What's this 15,000 made up of that you're down?
The sole budget is on the repair maintenance.
We don't, no, just, what's the 15,000 made up of, if you can
Well, you
just
would
talk
have
to
to
that?
break it all down. You would have to see where every line was requested and which was received.
Well,
Never.
if we just compare 2011 to 2012, you requested 103,000 last year. We gave you 103,000 last year. There was zero difference. This year you asked for 6,000 more than last year, right?
Which
Really?
year is this, Mayor?
2011 and
If
12.
you compare 2011 to 2012,
Requested, that's correct.
you got exactly what you requested, right?
In 2011, that's correct.
Yeah. And in 2012, you're about $5,500 more. Your request is $5,500 more than last year, right?
That's correct.
Okay. But we only gave you 93,000, 93.5.
That's correct.
Do you know what the $5,500 increase was from last year to this year? No?
I have to pull out my whole budget files and go over it.
Do you know the $10,000 reduction from 103 to 93, where you agreed on any cuts with Alan? Go ahead, Alan.
There I have the 2012 budget request of $100,691 reduced to $93,191 from line 182.
Oh, wait, just before you go there? So the request was 100?
I have 100,691.
And they gave them 93.1. That's a difference of 7,000, right?
Correct.
So where are we getting this 15?
$7,500.
Difference.
Go ahead.
We reduced the health concerns line by $6,500.
Why is that in building and grounds, health concerns?
This is for mold control, when we were addressing the Borough Hall basement with the mold issue.
Okay.
It's for other concerns that might come up with regard to air quality.
All right.
John also has responsibility for air quality, so if there's complaints and testing that needs to be done in those areas.
There was a lot of that because of the HVAC unit in this building? Because we're going to be replacing that? So we won't have the mold and remediation issues that we had?
It's a budget, yes. It can address issues that we have and prospective issues as well. So what John and I discussed was, if we have an issue that involves the health, safety, and welfare of the public or the employees, that can be an emergency situation, and we'll have to address it on an emergency basis, as opposed to leaving something in here to take care of it if the need should come up. Many of our budgets have been reduced that way, and there is no cushion for what might have been considered in the past emergency situations. Those have been taken out, and what we have left are emergency situations that might arise and we'll have to deal with. In addition, $1,000 was taken out of 187, the American Legion maintenance. That was brought down to zero. So there's no expectation that any maintenance is going to be done on that building. So that's where the $7,500 comes from, those two lines.
All right, so, John, Alan is saying that your request was $100,691, which is $3,000 less than you requested last year. You have a difference of $9,000. Your number and Alan's number differs by $9,000.
Mayor, I can't speak for John, but I know the process that he goes through. He comes up with a number that's internal, and this gets discussed with liaisons and other elected officials, and I know that John, eventually by the time he submits a budget to us, that number that he may have had in his original mind has been modified. So, that may, and that's been the practice. I'm not just speaking about this year, I'm talking about going back many, many years.
Right.
Where discussions with the liaisons took place, and whatever number he originally felt he needed, that had been whittled down by the time it got up to a formal request to the mayor and council.
All right.
I'm still, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm still confused where this 15,000 came from. It was only reduced 7,500. So where's this 15,000 coming from?
Well, as I said, there's a $9,000 discrepancy because John's requested number doesn't match what Alan said was the request.
Right, and I'd like an answer.
If you add the 7,500 to that, then you come up with the 15,000.
If you focus on what's received, my received budget is lower by $1,600 than 2005.
Well, we're not talking about, is that where you got the 15,000?
No, but that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, but that's what I'm asking you. Where did you get the
You can put your house
15,000?
up for sale for $2 million, you're not gonna get it. You could,
John, you have a difference here, 2012, and I'm just trying to understand your numbers that you're putting in front of us.
because that's probably the number, the original number, which I started with for the request of my budget. If that's what you want to focus on, you can focus on it.
I'm not focusing on anything but the piece of paper that you put in front of me, and I'm trying to understand the numbers. 15,941. What is that number? Where did you get to that number? What did you subtract to get to that number? Which two numbers?
My budget process starts in October, okay? So if originally I started with 109,000, and I received 93,000.
That's different.
109,000.
Minus 93 is 15,000.
Okay.
Minus that equals that.
Okay, got it. Now is this what was requested? Because we have 100,000, so...
I'm saying the paper request is 100,000, but that's not to say that the original number he had as a department head in terms of what it took to run his department was not 109,000 in his initial work paper.
I don't understand why we make budget stuff.
If you look at 2008, I received 113,000. So, you know, there's nobody on this council saying, wow, how are you running your buildings and grounds budget with 93,000?
That's what I want to know.
The entire municipal budget is lower than it was in 2007 right now. So you're not the only one.
Well, I'm the only one 7 people down.
But the entire municipal budget is lower than it was in 2007.
It's lowered right here, this budget.
Unlike the federal government, we don't have the ability to print money. I mean, that's the reality.
But then give me my answer by saying, well, then you're not responsible for recreation facilities.
Which comes back to, you and I need to sit down, let's work out a plan, we'll present it back to the council and say, this is what we came up with. Like we've been doing in the past. I mean, to sit here and argue about the dollars here is, we're past that point. I think we're into logistics right now as far as you and I sitting down, going over some of the notes we talked about, how we can, I mean, I don't know if it comes down to where we're back to decommissioning some of the rec, or we're just going to do job descriptions at this point.
Here's my problem, and I feel like, maybe it's me, but I feel like I get different numbers every time we talk. So I'm sorry if I'm keep focusing in on these numbers, but I just need to clear it up, because this 100,000, was that the original budget presented to us in the first iteration of the budget process?
Yes.
Okay, so John gave us a budget with all his knowledge, and that was 100,000. Where did this 109,000 come from then? Where does that 109,000 come from?
Alan just explained it.
No.
This is something that he probably originally presented, and in his mind...
To who?
To Alan.
No, this is our budget that's presented to us. This is the original, that's what I'm asking. Is this the original that came for approval? If that's the original, that's the only budget, I don't know where else the 9,000 is. And if there's an extra step in the process, just tell me. But my understanding is, we get the budget, that's the number. Where did this 109 come from? Because I swear, every time department heads come up here, I feel like I get different numbers. And I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. I'll get 109
You're asking where the
today.
extra 9,000 came from.
This 109 that was requested. I only have 100 here that was requested.
So there's an extra 9,000 that wasn't told to us.
There's 9,000 that's being said in this paper that John gave us that was requested, additional. And it makes it seem like we cut his budget by 15,000 here, but in reality, from what he asked and what we gave him was only 7,500. And the two line items that it came out of was Legion, which we're not doing anything with, we're going to demo, and we put money in capital from that, and 6,500 for health services, which again, has nothing to do with the buildings and grounds in that sense. So I'm trying to understand why this depletes his ability from, not from 5 years ago, but from last year, to do the same services as he did last year. Last year, he was down more guys because he had furloughs. This year, we have more of that. He doesn't have furloughs, so there's more manpower, hours-wise. So I'm just trying to understand why we can't get the same services last year, this year.
John, let me ask you a question. You see the years in your budget of 06, 07, and 08? You see your chart there? You see where the amount received was more than the amount you requested for each year?
That's correct.
Is that because at the end of the year, there was some money moved over into your budget, an emergency appropriation or something like that?
No, we did the...
And how could you get more money than you asked for?
We did the lighting changes in the borough, and money was put into my budget to oversee the lighting changes for all those buildings stated.
In the note, right here in the middle.
Okay.
That would be 26, 3102, 189, DPW lighting changes.
That was originally not in your budget to make the changes?
No. In addition to that, as stated, was the flood and all the work that had to be done, and the trailer expenses.
But the flood is an emergency appropriation.
Well, it was put in my budget.
I know. It's at the end of the year, when you come before us and you say, we had a flood, I don't have enough money in my budget to cover the cost of the trailers or whatever else I need more money in my budget, and Alan moves the money around so that you have money in your budget for the rest of the year. That's the way we work. That's the way the budget works.
We lived in the trailer for 4 years, so that money had to be allocated and put into the budget. It wasn't in November, here's a couple of quid to make you happy. This is how we lived, in trailers and porta potties.
What I'm saying is that if the 93,000 is not a realistic number in your budget for you to take care of all the buildings and grounds, then come November, you're going to come before us and say, I don't have any more money in my budget, and I have a broken water heater, I have this that I have to do, I need, you're going to have to get an emergency appropriation. There's no other way around it. Johnny?
I'd still like to know where that 9,000 came from. Is this a mistake on this paper?
No, we're saying,
Or did I miss a step? Because
you missed what John said earlier, when he said, in October, when I began to think about my budget, that's the number that he was working off of, 109,000.
But that makes, I'm sorry, but I don't...
That's what John said.
But you didn't present that. I don't understand how you could... I could have thought of 150,000. But if you didn't go through all those steps and present that budget, then that's not the number that you should be putting in here.
Then it's a mistake. So now what?
That's what I want to know. Was
So
it a
let's
mistake?
move it on.
So then focus on the received amount.
Why can't-
Focus on the received amount of
How can I
$93,000 one
focus-
year, and
how
then the
can I
next year I
focus-
got $113,000.
But how can I focus on just the received amount if out of the 100,000 that
It
you...
doesn't make what's requested.
It makes a very big difference. If you put together a whole budget and it adds up to 100,000 and the only two things you cut was the Legion, which we're rebuilding, and health services, which has nothing to do with buildings and grounds, you can't say that you cut out all this stuff for buildings and grounds.
I'm saying for the mayor and council to make a decision whether it's my responsibility to maintain these facilities or not to maintain them.
It's
And if you
absolutely-
say it's my responsibility to maintain these facilities, so be it, okay? Plain and simple. And when the budget runs dry, the budget runs dry.
It is absolutely...
You're the one, this mayor and council, that decides what my budget is, okay? So don't come crying to me about whether you're gonna give me the money or not, and starting this and starting that.
John, if you put together a budget, and that budget doesn't include all the things historically that you've had to maintain, then that's wrong.
John, this is my sixth budget, okay? When you're sitting home next year, and I'm still trying to maintain and run a department, okay? And there's somebody else sitting there, I will have the same discussion with somebody else, okay? Like I said to Paul, these chairs change consistently. Every 2 years, every change. What doesn't change is the responsibility down the hill and all that's put on us, okay? So when the budget's cut, and the trucks are cut, and everything else is cut, you can't have it both ways. That's what you said.
John, with all due respect, when I'm sitting home next year, my taxes are still paying for a lot of the services that are getting done here. And that's
Not for these
everybody...
reductions.
Yes, it is. Absolutely is. It
You tell me
absolutely
how the
is.
public works budget has gone up.
It hasn't gone up. So
You're
what?
right, it hasn't.
So what?
What do you mean, so what?
So what? So it hasn't gone up.
When the school budget is in front of you and you vote not to reduce
What did I vote,
the school
John?
budget-
What did I vote?
Mayor,
What did I
if
vote,
could
John?
interject
Don't bring up the
here.
school budget unless you know the votes then.
Mayor, if I could interject here, this is why it was my thought that this process should go to another venue and trying to hash out some of these issues that will take a lot of time to resolve.
I thought the conversation was getting interesting. I liked it.
To move it along, I think the suggestion that a recommendation come back to the board that you can deal with, rather than trying to decipher this at this point, is probably...
I think the council has to make a decision, either tonight or another night, what is appropriately on John's plate, because that's what he came to get an answer to. Right, John?
That's correct.
He came to get an answer as to what's on your plate, what buildings you're responsible for, what building you're not responsible for. Paul and I, or a subcommittee, will meet with Bobby Conway, Recreation. If you want us to meet with, if you have any other, sometimes working with you with like pulling teeth. If you have any other buildings, if you want us to meet with the library because you don't want to take care of that building, let us know, because we'll go to the library.
I'm not
to the next
trying to remove
library.
any responsibility for myself. I'm trying to have those that are responsible per the code book maintain and be responsible as their job states.
Well, then, that's an issue that I would ask Sam to review the code, review the statute for the Recreation Commission, and to give us his formal legal opinion on responsibility for public building maintenance. Just public buildings. Because I think it's easier for Sam to demarcate responsibility for public buildings than it is for grounds, because there's probably a lot of overlap with grounds. You got beautification, you got your guys, you got people on recreation that are all dealing with grounds. So let's do buildings first. Sam will give us his opinion, and his opinion will control. All right. Anything else?
I don't know if he's planning on leaving, but what about this DPW restriping? Parking lot, swim club?
That's good.
I'll have to throw that on the heap.
Yeah, I'd like to get John's opinion.
Who pays for that?
Request for DPW, see that on the agenda, John?
That's correct.
Request for DPW to restripe the parking lot for the River Edge Swim Club. What do you say? What do you think?
Well, again, as in the past, the swim club has asked us to do numerous tasks. It's put before the mayor and council to say yes or no, and this one is before you.
What is it? You mean the swim club wants you to go onto the swim club property and do maintenance?
parking lot.
No, the parking lot.
Oh, the parking lot.
Which
Okay.
is mixed.
Yeah, it's mixed use, it's also KBG. It's the same parking lot.
Mayor?
Good.
I was actually, Bill Daly from the swim club, I was talking the other day, and he brought this up in our conversation. I was going to call you on it, I didn't get a chance to yet, but he just wanted to know what was going on with it too. Now, I said I had no answer for him, so at this point, it's basically, it's going to be back in the council's hand as far as if it fits in the budget or not to get it done. Alan, was there any money put inside for that, or?
No, we didn't anticipate that. In fact, I believe that John has cut back on some of the striping of the crosswalks and things like that. You know, the stuff we used to keep several years ago can't be kept because of the lack of funds and manpower and everything else. So,
Who
no,
owns the
this was
parking
not
lot?
anticipated.
Who owns the parking lot?
That's the borough.
Well, wait, it's a little bit more complicated than that. We have an exchange of a lease arrangement, there's been a flipping...
But do they lease the parking lot as well, or just the grounds where the pool is?
And what does the lease say?
Because the grounds for the pool, I think we get $1 a year from them until 2025.
I don't think it's the parking facility, I think it's basically the pool facility. I'd have to look at the lease, if it hasn't changed over the years.
No, it's a 50-year lease, I think.
So 2025 is when the lease is up.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the lease. I think we had redone it about 10 years ago.
How much is the cost to repave it, or repaint it, restripe it? Any ideas?
I haven't looked into it.
What is it? They're talking about to accommodate handicap spots. There's no handicap spots there now, is that what they're saying?
There's one there.
They just want to repaint them, no?
There's just
Isn't that
one.
what-
No, they have to add 4 more.
3 more. How many, do we have, how many spaces
There's
down?
handicap spots there, but what they're saying is that they're not ADA compliant. So you would have to restripe and reconfigure the area in question.
Did they ask Mr. Costa to lay that
Well,
out?
yeah, that maybe
Maybe
we have
it
to get-
might be a way to reallocate the spaces. They don't have to be 4 in a row. In fact, they probably don't want to be 4 in a row because there's different access points to the pool facility or to the park. So I don't know how they laid them out. And you can use buffer area, if they have buffer area for the side aisle, and you can have 2 next to each other and have reduced side aisle. So there's all different kind of combinations. You don't have to have 8 and 8 everywhere you go. You can have 2 8s and a 5 between, and that counts as compliant. So I don't know whether they've looked at all the options to see if there's a least intrusive way to do this.
Well, there's like a ramp that goes up into the inside, you would have...
But that's
two on
separate
one
from striping the stalls.
side. Wouldn't you put the handicap spots by where you can wheel up? I mean, you
No,
would, but
the law does not say it has to be, it doesn't say it has to be, it says it has to be, an accessible route has to be provided. It doesn't necessarily has to be the closest point.
I mean, wouldn't it make sense, though, to have it the closest, if you're in a wheelchair?
But not if you have access to the swim club, and then you have access to the park, you're not gonna have everybody, have all the handicap spots at the entrance to the swim club, and then have none by the entrance to the park. You're gonna distribute them where there's different access points.
But Ed, you know more about this than anybody. Why don't you just design the thing?
I'm not,
It's not the...
all I'm saying is
He's not the borough engineer.
What I'm saying, there's gotta be rationale, they're trying to imply that there's some kind of legal issue here, that it's not done, it's being done for some other reason. I wanna know why, if they're talking about restriping 300 spaces, that's a different issue than trying to accommodate an additional 2 or 3.
Well, they actually are working to complete their
this just
ADA
says
compliance this year, the pool.
Mandated by law, is that...
Well, you're not mandated unless you change something.
That's what I'm saying, I mean, it may not be mandated.
It's not. I mean, there's a requirement, if they have 100 spaces, there is a requirement for handicap spaces. 3 are regular, 1 has to be van accessible. But not knowing what's there now and where they are and how they're laid out,
You'd have
that's...
to analyze the whole
They only have one there now, right by the entrance.
The long and the short of it is, I think, if they want the DPW to do it, they should pay the DPW to do
The
it.
DPW can't do it based
But we gotta
upon,
make sure that it's...
based upon how complicated it sounds.
That's what I mean, it might be something very simple or it could be something very complicated.
It sounds like we would have to get our engineer or the volunteer services of Ed Mignon, NPE.
Well, I think
I
they
don't
need
have
to
a problem
get...
looking at it, I just wanna make
to-
sure
to
that...
do the design work.
There's really no design work per se. It's
Just spray paint
whether-
it blue and put up a sign.
It's not...
I just wanna make sure we're doing it the most efficient way we can do it.
No, I know, but I mean, that's a handicap spot.
All right, well,
That's all I'm saying. Let's do it the most efficient way we can do it.
no one's telling you to go out tomorrow and strike these lots, to strike these spots, John, until it gets figured out. Okay, anything else?
Not on this side.
All right. All right, we have, I know tonight is the third Monday, and we're supposed to have, I thought I had made it clear we were going to have liaison reports tonight, but we had them last week, so I'm not going to ask anybody for council reports. We don't have a mayor, I don't have a mayor's report. We have, 3 items on for your information. We have a grant program for ADA improvements adjacent to the county roads. Alan, were you going to report on that? or-
Very quickly, just to make you aware that the county has come up with a grant program to fund 50% of the cost of handicapped ramps where they are adjacent to county roads. The freeholders will be taking this up in mid-May, and then they'll be looking for municipalities that would like to participate in this to sign off with resolutions. I'll be forwarding a copy of the contracts to Sam Soresti for him to review. This might work out well with the grant that we're looking at for Midland Avenue. I provided Capital Alternatives, Bob Costa and John Lynch and Sam with copies of this information,
Okay.
just to keep it in mind.
All right, the next one is the electric bids that came into the co-op that we belong to for electric, SEM.
Thank you, Mayor. In 2009, the SEM was formed. This is a group of the Sustainable Energy Joint Energy Group. About 172 municipalities, authorities, and utilities have joined together to aggregate gas and electric. The charge of the SEM is to go out to bid in an aggregate fashion for electric and gas, and to only make awards where it's lower than what they call the strike price, which is the price that's set by the state when they go out to bid in February for the same electric and gas. We've had a report that came in on April 13th, which is going to show significant savings for the SEM members. They are predicting that our street lighting cost will be about 27% lower than 2011, and the other electric about 15% lower. So it's a very good report based on the fact that, we're in this joint situation with all these other municipalities to try and lower the utility prices.
Okay, good.
Just wanted to report on that.
While we're on that issue, I had Alan, when we had the grant application consultant here, we had an issue with the street lighting and the cost of it, and I asked Alan to contact Rob Costa about the street lighting cost and LED lighting for any new street lamps, if we're going to go forward with the Streetscape grant, to make sure that the new fixtures could be LED, which are much cheaper, whether or not we could change the existing lighting that we had to LED for the street lighting. And Mr. Costa's firm reported that LED is available for new lights, and he also reported that we're under, 10-year agreement with PSE&G for the existing lights, so they can't be changed right away. But after the 10 years, they can upgrade those lights to LED if we wanted them to. So, just reporting on that. I think it's the way to go. And then we have number 3, Green Sky Industries, recycling, and we have Mr. Lynch on that issue also.
Currently, we're in contract with Green Sky for recyclable material. The contract expires on the 31st of May, as you see. We received and talked to 2 different companies, let's say Atlantic Coast Fibers and also Green Sky. You see the contrast of both of what both of these companies have put forth in their proposals, and it's clear that Green Sky will give the borough more money and a better contract than Atlantic Coast Fibers. It's my recommendation to sign into a 3-year contract with Green Sky.
I have a question about the floor price. You have figures on that?
The floor price is what we negotiate as far as the floor price.
I know. What's the floor price for, you have what the current price is. The current price is $80.75. What is that for? Is that for paper, commingled?
That's for paper.
That's for paper? And so they've agreed to a $60 floor price?
And it was at $30. That's correct.
So we're never going to get less than $60 a ton, no matter what the floor is.
That's correct.
For 3 years.
Our commingled price was $5 a ton, and we've negotiated an increase of $42.50 per ton to $47.50.
But there's no floor on that.
That the blue sheet or yellow sheet or whatever the industry's calling it this week is the floor price for that.
Yeah, but I mean, if the market on commingled drops down to 0 or below 0, we'll have to pay Green Sky to pick up our commingled, right? If there's no market for commingled.
Mayor, I believe that's how it's always been. I don't know that you'll find a firm that will lock into a floor price on something
Well,
like this.
Atlantic Coast Fibers is willing to give us a $15 floor price on commingled. You know, Green Sky won't even give us $10 a ton. That's not good.
John, do you know
In-
what's the breakdown between percentage of overall paper versus commingled?
As far as,
Is it our total recycling tonnage, how would it break down between the paper versus,
We did about 2.1 million pounds from the curb. Paper is obviously heavier.
so we make more money on the paper end than we do on the commingled?
Yeah, you always do, but you don't want to have to pay.
But the floor on the paper may offset anything you lose on the commingled, depending on the percentage of the breakdown. If paper's our greatest portion, most of the money's going towards that.
I'm not talking about, I'm talking about if there's no market for commingled and we don't have a contract that has a floor, then Green Sky can say, hey, we're going to start charging you to pick up your commingled, or you're going to have to warehouse and keep all your commingled somewhere because we don't want it anymore. And now we're stuck with tons and tons and tons of commingled that we can't get rid of.
Well, it doesn't obligate them from not taking it, does it?
Yeah. If they don't give us a floor.
No, they may have to give us anything for it, I still think they have to accept it. Look at what the contract says. They can't just say we're not taking it.
That would make sense.
And the $30 a ton on the floor price difference for the paper is probably more cost generating than not having the floor on the...
John, I would say go back to Green Sky and get a floor for the commingled. We don't care what the floor is. If they want to make it $10, if they want to meet Atlantic Coast, if they want to go lower, the rest of their quotes are much better than Atlantic Coast quotes.
That's what I'm reading right now, is the wording in the contract. The purchase of commingled containers will be a fixed rebate of 47.50 cents per ton.
So then it's not variable.
Oh,
That's fixed.
it's fixed. Oh, all right. Fixed rebate. That's what it says?
Fixed rate.
Did I gotta give you a copy of it?
this is on the $5 one, it's an old one.
It's the paper which is under the...
That's an old one.
Yeah, this is our prior contract from
Okay.
2009.
And the new one says the purchase of commingled containers will be a fixed rebate of $47 a ton? Is that what it says?
Instead of the 5,
Yes.
paragraph
Right.
C. Yeah.
All right, so that in effect is the floor. Good. All right. That's great.
Yes, it's the mixed news that's under the yellow sheet. Or the market news.
Okay. That's very good. All right, so we're not even, we don't even have to go out to bid or anything, right? Go ahead, Johnny.
No, it's an exception.
We're currently in the process of going out to bid for a recycling contract with a vendor to pick up recycling and to dispose of it. Similar as we do with our garbage, and get some pricing on that, as opposed to having our DPW spend 3 days a week with 3 guys, doing recycling. So to enter into a 3-year agreement, I think would be premature at this point, when we don't have those other pricing models to compare it to.
Are we going to have that by May 31st when this contract expires?
Absolutely not.
Does our current contract have any month-to-month extension ability?
It's just that we're losing money under this contract, because the floor for commingled under our existing contract is $5 a ton. So after May 31st, we're losing $42.50 per ton.
I don't
So
see
the
any-
contractor has the option to extend the original term if both parties agree.
Yeah.
The written extension.
Oh, yeah. Paragraph A.
I mean, if it's, I don't know how we compare what's the better price unless we get those other numbers. And if they can offer us a higher amount per ton, I'm assuming that the person coming in could potentially give us a better price if they're getting that much more per ton on the recyclables.
I was under the impression that the proposal you were looking for had to do with the collection of the recycled material. This has to do with the marketing of it. Are you saying now that you want something for both marketing and collecting? Because that would be different than what my original instruction was.
No, that's not different. That's what we asked for, was to have somebody come in and get rid of the materials, and those materials would offset their cost to the borough.
I don't know where you're going to find that, because most of the, there's a dichotomy of either you're a scavenger and you pick it up, or you're one of these recyclers, and you purchase it in bulk from the municipality.
But these guys that are picking it up, they're going to these kind of places and selling it off. So the assumption is, and that's why I wanted the RFQ process, was they're going to give us not just a price on, okay, well, it's going to take us this much manpower, but this much manpower minus, the amount we're going to get for the recyclables.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're going to charge your town, because, while it's going to take us this much manpower, we're also going to dump these recyclables, get money from that, so the cost to the town will be cheaper than, the potential to just pick it up and sell it off. Pick it up and dump it like they do garbage.
John, right now, how does the tonnage work? Your guys pick up the recycling, you pick up the corrugated, you bring it to the DPW. Does it get weighed there, or does it get weighed when it gets taken away?
No, when we pick it up, we bring it right to market, and it's dumped.
You bring it right to Green Sky?
That's correct.
And it gets weighed, and you get a ticket.
That's correct.
And then we get our recycling tonnage based upon the ticket, right?
Tonnage and
the weight ticket.
We receive a check.
I take it from the process you just described that we're then witnessing the weighing, but if we're having someone collect it for us and then weigh it for us, then we're presuming that they're giving us an honest weight, or at least we're
you're
not
getting-
there to witness the honest weight.
Well, in my assumption, you wouldn't go with it unless you're getting a better price than it costs you
The
to
price
do
is
it.
based on the weight.
Right, but if they come back and their price is $50,000 to the town, let's say,
Mhm.
hypothetical. Okay, that's cheaper than devoting 3 guys 3 days a week, minus whatever we get back from the recycling, is what I'm saying.
And I do understand that, but what I'm saying is that we're then going on good faith that whatever price they give us, it's going to be a weight price. And they're going to be weighing it for us, and we're not going to be present for that weight. And that worries me. That's what I'm saying.
At that point, why would you really care if it's less than what the overhead is anyway?
We don't weigh our garbage right now.
I'm saying, he's saying that he's
It's
present.
countersign manifest, they have to report this to DEP and everything. So
Okay, so you're saying that there's a level of
fraud, then
confidence.
I mean, if there's a fraud going on, they're gonna be...
Highly regulated.
Okay.
Didn't Mr. Lynch just provide us with a breakdown of numbers what it costs the towns when you open Oradell, New Milford for the recycling?
And we have that memo.
I mean, there's
Yeah,
a
we
breakdown
will.
of numbers where it shows, the cost, and if you look at it, it seems that we have the...
We're right in the
least
middle.
cost. Well, when it's broken down per household.
I think that it's important that we also do our own due diligence, and get an RFQ process out there and get our own answers.
So you don't want to trust his answers?
This is contract.
Trust his answers, but they're not an RFQ for this town. It's not his expertise as far as, what these recyclers will get. And they could be going on, Oradell could be going on a 2-year contract 2 years ago, and recycling could have gone up since then. I think we need to do our own due diligence and get current pricing.
Well, don't we need for Green Sky to agree that they will extend their current rate on a month-to-month basis? Because we're not going to be ready by,
That's already in the contract. The problem is that we're not going to be, when this contract was entered into in May of 2009, the market was really, really depressed, which is why we only have been getting $5 a ton for commingled. The market is a little better, and the floor price for cardboard was $30 a ton, and now it's $60 a ton. So if we extend this, which we can under the contract, we're just losing money because we can take advantage of a new contract at higher market prices.
while we wait for... Okay.
Well, I mean, it's all how you look at it. To me, if the market is higher, then you're going to get a better contract also with the vendor that's going to pick up and sell that off for you, because they're going to get a better price for it. So I'm assuming those are...
Why don't we do this? Why don't we enter into the contract with Green Sky in May, the end of May, but add a termination provision in it, paragraph number 10, that either party can terminate the agreement within 90 days or at the end of the year or something, so that if we...
That's fine.
If we go out to this RFP and we get such a great deal on doing the pickup out of house.
Yeah, but to do that, you would seriously jeopardize the floor, because let's say the prices in a year from now decline and they terminate because it's not, in their best interest to keep the contract going. And then we've just now, lost however length of time's left on the contract. At $60 now,
Yeah.
we have $5. So I don't know that I would want to, put
To
that in.
lock it in for 3 years is great, at that price.
Well, I mean, the best thing would be to either extend this for
3 months.
3 months, which I'm certain they'll do because it's in their financial interest to do it, until we get our information back, on the recycling. But I don't think I would add another, paragraph to that contract.
Just ask for an extension.
Yeah. I mean, how long do we think it's going to take to get, these proposals back?
It'll take me, at best case, 30 days to try and put the spec together, and by law, it has to be out there for 60 days.
So we're looking at
So
4
you're looking
months.
at least 3 months before you get anything back from the companies.
What's the, you don't have it off the top of your head, the tonnage per month for paper and recycling?
The weight tonnage per month?
Yeah. Is it 20 tons?
Not off the top of my head.
What?
Not off the top of my head.
My head.
What are you looking for, Mayor, just paper, or?
Tonnage. Tonnage for commingled and tonnage for the paper.
Alan, when's our garbage contract up? Do you know?
I think we have another year or two. Might be in the third year of a 5-year contract. Not sure what, oh, here goes tons down here. So we've got commingled 425 annually, paper 589. So do you want a monthly figure on this?
Yeah, monthly.
So 589. 49 tons for the paper,
All right, so 50 tons for paper.
right? 425. And 35 tons roughly for the commingled.
Commingled. All right, so what's 50 tons times $60?
3,000.
3,000.
Say 35 times, what was the other figure,
47.
$1,600.
$1,600.
$4,600.
All right, $4,600. $4,600 a month under the new contract, as opposed to $1,500, and we have a $5 a ton for 35 and 70. 1770. You're losing like $3,000 a month by extending the contract. So what do you want to do? We've got enough information to make a decision. Extend the contract, add a termination clause.
I mean,
Go under, award the contract to Green Sky. We're all informed.
Can we make a motion?
What do you want to do?
Make a motion to award the contract to Green Sky Industries.
Second.
Now let's have a roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Corco?
no.
Councilman Young?
No.
Councilman Bartoloni?
No.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
3-3, Mayor.
3-3? All right, I've crunched the numbers, and I can't see us, I'm voting yes. I can't see us, losing this guaranteed $3,000 a month by extending the contract. I'm all for continuing with the RFP and to go out for bid, because when our garbage contract expires, that would be the most appropriate time if we're going to hire a vendor. If we're going to hire a new vendor to pick up garbage, it'd be the most appropriate time to hire someone to pick up recycling at the same time.
Mayor, then we should,
It's always an alternate.
well, but this precludes that, because this will expire after our garbage
I
contract.
know.
And that's
So
my
then you
no
don't have that option.
But we could always go at it as an alternate bid, so that we can compare the numbers when they come in.
We wouldn't be able to get out of this contract. If our garbage contract expires in 2 years and this expires in 3 years, we can't have a vendor pick up recycling after 2 years. They should have the same term then, if that's what we're wanting to look at.
And that was my no vote. I believe this should expire with our garbage contract. So that if it's 2 years, then 2 years on this, so that we're in a position where we can look at it. I wanted to, so you can do this globally. But I don't know that we'll be able to. This will put us a year over.
Mayor, I have the resolution that goes to October 15th, 2014.
So it's 2.5 years.
Okay.
You can't change the terms on that, right?
Maybe you can extend the garbage contract.
We're still-
Yeah, again, I'd like to,
See this 2.5 years.
You can do that.
Yeah.
What would you suggest? Because
I don't know if you can do it for
to
6
discuss it now after a
Yeah.
vote, I want to know what they're going to...
I want to see if you can't enter into it if it has to be a 2.5-year contract, then a 2.5-year contract on this. I'd like to see them get as close as we possible to expiring at the same time.
Okay, then I would...
And that's what
Then, Mayor, I'd like to withdraw my vote and vote no.
You have to make a motion for reconsideration first. That motion then...
Hold on a second, it's not too late.
It's to make a motion, no, you got a motion to reconsider.
I got a motion to reconsider, exactly, nothing's too late, jeez.
You have to
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider this vote.
Yes, it's under Robert's rules because you said yes.
Yes.
So he has been seconded.
Seconded by someone who said yes. By someone who said yes.
Second.
You did,
I
voted
didn't
no.
know.
You said yes, you said yes.
I don't feel like being a parliamentarian, but you voted no.
Sometimes you vote yes so that you can reconsider.
Got it.
All right. So there's no second. All right.
Well, I'd like to, Mayor,
Ed?
you said you crunched the numbers. I don't get what numbers were crunched besides what John gave us in this number. We didn't get any RFQs back. So how did we compare the other side of the coin?
I only compared what we're losing under the existing contract to what has been offered to us on a new contract beginning May 31st.
Thank you.
With no...
If we extend, if we buy time by extending the current Green Sky contract, we're losing $3,000 a month.
But you have no clue as to what the other side of the coin is if we enter into an agreement that is cheaper the other way. And if you're going to crunch the numbers, we got to crunch the numbers on both sides. We've only crunched one side's numbers, and yes, they've come back with a better price, but the other side of the coin is we'd probably get a better price from the other companies because they're getting a better price per ton as well.
We're going to get a much better price in 2014 when we go out for bid on the garbage contract.
And in the meantime, we could be losing for 2 years. We don't know because we haven't looked at the other side of the coin.
Awesome. That's true. There must be
All right, is there any unfinished business? New business?
Alan, unfinished business?
Unfinished business?
Yeah. What's the status of the RFPs for the Phase 1 at American Legion?
They're not out yet. I still have to put that together.
Do you have a time frame, or you don't have a time frame?
Actually, I did some research trying to get a definition of the Phase 1, so I'm still struggling with trying to put that together as to what they ask for. Perhaps if I could show you what I have and you could give me an opinion on whether it's adequate or not, that would be a help.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other new business?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Unfinished or new?
Unfinished.
Unfinished. No, I have nothing unfinished.
All right, new business, we have River Edge Turkey Trot.
Yes.
Who's reporting on that?
I guess I'll report on that. I was contacted by several gentlemen involved in St. Peter's regarding putting together a River Edge Turkey Trot. For anyone who doesn't know what a turkey trot is, because I had to look it up myself what it is, does not involve turkeys. It's a race. It's a 5K race that they were interested in hosting or in having River Edge host as an event. I've spoken to Bobby. The River Edge Recreation Commission is not interested in this. So the question is, perhaps, is this something
Special Events Committee?
that the Special Events Committee, yes, the Special Events Committee would like to do?
Who would be the sponsor?
Well,
Was it St. Peter's?
the idea originated with St. Peter's.
But I mean, the concept of Turkey Trot, is that an organization?
No. A turkey trot is simply a race that is held in the week before Thanksgiving. The idea being, you run a couple miles to burn off the calories that you're going to consume come Thanksgiving Day. They're held apparently throughout the country. It's kind of a traditional Thanksgiving type thing, but I never heard of it before, so I had to look it up. And that's what it is. And they had an idea as to either they would do it themselves, or it'd be something that the town would sponsor and put forth. So that's why I brought it up for, basically discussion as to whether or not this is something maybe that the Special Events Committee could do, because Rec Commission absolutely doesn't want to do anything about it. And I understand that they wouldn't want to. They have the River Edge Run, and they're not interested in doing another race.
Really? The River Edge Run is so well attended. It's like having two great events in it.
It's exhausting now.
They're so far apart.
Takes everything from them to get
Bobby called me today, and she said
they work the whole year just to have the
get
one
the
event.
sponsors and
they
everything?
said the commission is not interested in this. So I can't,
Is it for profit? Do you make a profit?
The idea was that any entrance fees or things like that would go towards charity. Would go to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, being that it is Thanksgiving time.
And there's some clarification, because they're telling me also there were some issues also, I guess, getting permission to close roads as a private entity versus if it's a town-sanctioned function. That's what the police had said.
No, just ask the chief.
What I think they were looking at least for this year, again, whether we do it this way or they do it, would be in Memorial Park. I think it's like maybe 6 laps around both parks to hold a race, given that you don't know what the size of it would be. How well attended this would be, and if it's well attended, then maybe the following year it's, you have it on the roads. But this, it sounds like a great idea. It's another community building activity that kind of fills a dead time in the year, community-wise. There's nothing going on. So I'm just presenting it so that we can have a discussion on it as to whether, like I said, maybe special events will do this, or we say, you know what, we'll give you whatever, we'll approve it, go have a good time, go have a good time, gobble gobble. So, but that's where it is.
Okay. Sounds like a worthwhile event. Doesn't sound like it's going to interfere with any other event in town.
Might interfere with SantaCon.
What's that?
SantaCon. They do it in New York,
Oh.
where everyone dresses as Santa Claus and does a 5K race.
No idea.
Quite popular.
Well, no one, I don't know, if somebody wants to don a turkey costume and run around, by all means, with pilgrims chasing them, awesome. But I think there's supposed to be runners. And they're looking, the date would be November 17th.
Who would be running it again? If Rec doesn't want to do it?
Rec does not want to do it.
St. Peter's, you said, right?
Or the town. Or, like I said, special events. This may be something that special events does.
Okay.
Well, there should be a mechanism for a group to approach the Special Events Committee to come up with new events.
Maybe
and then they can
absolutely.
decide whether they
Maybe
do them or
the
not.
money,
Do them or not.
maybe any money that is raised can go into our open space account and get divvied up to shade tree and beautification and whoever else needs it.
Great, now we're taking from charity.
Well, again, I think, I think...
Charity. You're paying it,
It was going to charity. It was going to charity.
Yeah, that's the idea is, and that's what they approached for, that it would go to the food bank. Like the
We are
River Edge,
charity.
the River Edge Run, some of the money went towards playgrounds, and also a lot of it went to melanoma this year. So they raised money for Melanoma Foundation.
I felt the way Bobby described it to me, and I could be wrong on this, is that the entrance fees for the Ridge Run all went to Rec, but if you then did an additional...
Well, maybe that's...
Yeah, I'm almost certain of that.
But it did help raise money for...
It did,
Yeah.
but
The melanoma.
all of the entrance fee went to the Rec.
Yes, the playground.
And then if somebody wanted to do an additional to run for charity, they could?
Yeah. Again, I think this is something that special events, if we get it up and running, should work on.
All
I think it's too
right.
late this year, maybe next year.
Speaking of special...
6 months?
Yes, plenty of time. Speaking of special events, my hip will be fine by then.
I think you have to run with a turkey, like, strapped to you or something.
I wanted
With dogs,
to, I
too.
wanted to bring up the issue of the car show. Again, for special events and for maybe Paul and I to go and speak to Bobby about, and I want to get the consensus or the opinions of members of council on allowing the car show to use Memorial Park to help stage the event. We've always gotten, they've always been told no, that they can't use the Memorial Park or any part of the car show. They wanted to, they wanted to use the
pathways.
the pathway to line up all the cars on. But Rec doesn't want them to. So, yes.
Let's go back to the
I don't know the
commission.
answer to this, but I don't know if those pathways have been constructed with, having those vehicles, the weight of those vehicles in mind.
Alan, during the 4th of July
Drive on
celebration, cars are going through there all day.
And
I don't know
River
how many
Edge
cars are going through.
There's
it, as
trucks
opposed-
going through there.
As opposed to
More
the
like
number of
some people that
vehicles
walk
that
on the
you would
grass.
experience with a car show.
Yeah, the idea was to just not even have the cars move onto a spot, stop, turn off their engines, put something under the car, God forbid, in case any oil drips or anything like that, so it gets caught on a tarp or anything,
Cardboard.
and then to move in and move out in single file. That was the suggestion. So does anyone have any strong feelings one way or the other?
I just don't think that it's...
Johnny?
I remember this coming up when I was liaison to Rec, and I believe it was the commission that did not want this to happen. I may be wrong. And it's fine to go talk to them, but I think they're the ones that have that jurisdiction.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can, so we just have to ask them. I don't think that it's really our call in that sense.
It's not their event, though.
No, it's not their event. No, this is the cultural center's event.
Anybody else?
But they
Johnny says
control
Rec's probably going to say no.
That was my understanding when I thought this came up previously, but
Things are
could be wrong.
All right. Paul, we're going to go talk to Bobby, right?
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay.
Well, I think it's a commission thing, that's what I'm saying. It's not really Bobby. She has to bring it up to the entire
Yeah.
commission.
Just to say they'll get permission to say, you just have to chant the park.
All right. What else? Payment of the bills? We have to-
Yes, I believe there's payment of bills.
Johnny, you want to do that?
Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $65,009.49. So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, I want to open the hearing to the public. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. The meeting's open to, meeting's open to the public. Anybody would like to stand, give us your name and address, mayor and council, they can.
Hugh Carroll, 321 Wales Avenue. I assume since we know all of John Lynch's figures and Sam's going to do the research, DPW versus recreation, I'm hoping that he's been given the information with the recreation budget, but not only the recreation budget, the 2 or 3 trust accounts, Alan, how much money is in those 3 accounts and what that money's earmarked for, so that Sam could make a decision. I'm sure they could find $250 to replace a water heater and to at least get some prices on the roofs at that trust account, but I don't know what the money is earmarked for. But we know John's whole budget, so so he has a fair understanding of the entire picture.
The amount of money in a recreation trust account won't have any effect on Sam's opinion. If they had $1 million, Sam's opinion would only be based on his analysis of the statute. It wouldn't be because you have a lot of money, John Lynch can utilize it. It really wouldn't matter. It only matters what his interpretation of the statute is.
I understand it's a substantial amount of money, that's why I was
Yeah.
asking.
Anybody else? Can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I did have a comment at the end.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to thank, John Lynch did send us a memorandum thanking Neil Carroll for, taking care of the Federal Communications Commission renewal of the license, saving us, a lot of money, and he did it free of charge. So, Mr. Carroll, thank you so much for taking care of that.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Neil. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
I'll just give you a call.